Alright, let's go and calculate out these statistics. So the first thing I do want to do is I do want to create some range names, because that's just going to make my life a little bit easier. So I'm going to go all the way to the bottom here, and I'm just going to create a range name for everything. I'm going to highlight this entire bottom row, hold Control, hold Shift, push the up arrow. Then I'll select all the data because it has been cleaned. We're going to come here and we're going to go into Formulas, Create from Selection. Now, we want to make sure left column's turned off, because if we do that on, it's going to go through and it's going to try to name every row true and false. And then every time false pops up again, it's going to rewrite in true. We don't want to do that. Just in the top row. Say OK. So all these things have been created with range names. If we go into Name Manager, we can see they're all there. And once again, we can see any place that there is a space, it's been replaced with an underscore. So that's important to remember. Alright, so let's go up here and let's make our summary statistics. Now, we want to do those for net income loss. We want to do those with pre-tax income. Actually, what I'm going to do is, because it's just these four right here that we want to do. No, actually, no. Yeah, because net income loss is over here. So we do want to do our pre-tax income. I'm just going to Control-C, so I don't have to bring it over. Control-V to paste. And then I want to grab my two tax rates. Control-C, and then Control-V. So these were the four things that we wanted to do. So now I have them over here. And so what do I want to do? What I want to do, my mean and standard deviation, and then my 5-number summary. So my min, first quartile, median, third quartile, max. And then the special thing that we had is we want to do our different percentiles. They wanted the first and the first percentile, the 99th percentile, first decile, which was 0.1, and the 9th decile, which would be 0.9. And in fact, I guess I should put these in order, so I'm just going to move that here. Alright, and so we have all those here. Now I am going to exploit, I'll wait till I get there. So we start with our mean, and it's just, remember, we don't have mean, it's average. And we have a range name. Now, we can't just say, do net income loss. It's not going to work like that because it doesn't recognize that. I'll show you a trick here in a minute for that. But we can go in here and we can put in the name, and it is net income loss. So I started typing it in to get it. I hit Tab to autofill, or you can double click or do whatever you want to do. And so there's our average, our average of everything. So let's do the standard deviation. So equals stdev. This is not every company, this is only a sample, so we'll do stdev.s. Same thing, we'll drop in net income loss there. And that will give us our standard deviation. Now all of this is in currency, so let's go and I'll just change it to currency. So our mean income for our companies is, out of these ones that we have, 396 million. And so the standard deviation is 2.3 trillion. So it's definitely spread out a lot. Okay, we do our 5-number summary. And remember, we can do this all with one equation. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Because we can sit here and go, okay, equals quartile. We want to use the inclusive one, so we can get the max and the min. So the array we want to use is net income loss. Quartile, you can see, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, we'll do 0. And I'm going to drag that down. Net income loss is a range name. It's not going to change. So I'll drag it down. This one, AE7, I drag it down. It will change. That's what we want. And so there we go. So I drag that down with everything. My minimum is negative 22 billion. So lost a lot of money. There's my first quartile, 25% are below that. 50% are below my median, 75% are below my third, and this is the max for everything, the high end for my net income loss. All right, and so let's do the percentiles. Same kind of thing now. We use the percentile equation. This one doesn't matter because we're not doing zero, so the exclusive, inclusive give us the same numbers. So net income loss, and then we'll pick our array, which is going to be that AF14. And by doing it this way, we're allowed to drag it down. And so now we have all of our numbers in. We'll talk about them here in a minute. Okay. Now, I can't just drag this over because it's a range name. Let me show you a more advanced Excel thing. The reason this didn't work earlier when I put it in is when I dropped the cell reference in, well, Excel's looking for a number there. It doesn't understand that those are words. We can make Excel understand their words. We can force it to do that. We can use a different function. And the reason that we do this is so we could drag it along and pick up the words. So what do? So we have the range names here, and we want this range name to be used in this cell. Well, there's another function that's called indirect. So I come in here and go indirect. What indirect allows us to do is allows us to indirectly reference a cell. So instead of clicking on a cell and having Excel go, oh, I got to drop this number in here, we're telling Excel, by the way, I want you to drop the text in here and use it like a word. So if I go indirect and AG3 and close my two parentheses and execute that, you'll see that I get the number now where I got divide by 0 before. So this is great, but we have to think about it because we are going to drag this equation left to right. So as I look at this, I do want the column to change. I want AG to go to AHAI. I don't want that 3 to change. So I'm going to put a $sign in front of that 3 because I don't want that to ever change. Always stay row 3. And so let's just go back here. Everything that I just did here, I'm going to change. We'll change it to that indirect command. Indirect here. And once again, we'll put that $sign in front of the 3. I forgot a parenthesis. It fixed it for me. So I'm going to come down here. This is where I have to think a little bit. So I still want to do indirect. I still want to do AG3. I want to lock in the 3. Now I need to look at AE7. So as I drag this left to right, I don't want the AE to ever change. That column needs to stay there. Put a $sign there. I do want the 7 to change because I am going to drag it down. So now let's close these parentheses here. Too few arguments. Oh, so you see I'm still in the array. Actually didn't need a comma there. I need 8 parentheses there. So now when I move on here, now I'm in the quartile. So there we go. And once again, I messed up the parentheses. So open, close, we're all good. We can drag this down now. Boop. We see nothing changed, but the formula is all set. So in a minute when we drag this over, everything should work. Let's do the same thing for the percentiles. All I'm going to do is I'm going to replace this with indirect. Select net income loss. Close the parentheses this time. Lock in number 3. And then once again, I don't want AF to change here, so I am going to put a $ in front of the AF. That'll lock that in. I can drag that down. All taken care of. Now let's just drag this across everything. And then we see it doesn't work. We have reference errors. Uh-oh, what's going on? Well, let's take a look and see. Well, the equation's written correctly. So when we get a reference error in Excel, it means that a reference is broken. So it's usually a equation name or a cell reference, like a range name. Problem is, that's not really the range name. It isn't pre-tax income. So remember back when I said look at the formulas, notice that it can't have spaces, it has underscores. That's what we need to fix. So if I come into the pre-tax income, I add the underscore there. Now you see everything fixes itself. So we got the pre-tax numbers. And we've got the same thing over here because there's a lot of spaces. So we're just going to go in, and we're going to put the spaces in, the underscores in where the spaces are. And we'll do that here. And you see that fixes itself. Now, these are all percentages. They're not dollar amounts, so let's change that. We'll just change it to percentage format. And we don't need a decimal places. All right, so here's our numbers. So let's take a look at our numbers. As I said, there was going to be some insane ones. Actually, let me put the comma in here because percentages. Okay, we're going to go here, and we're going to come down to more number formats. And we have our percentage, and I can't actually put a comma in the percentages. I forgot. We can't do that. So if I go and look at stuff, the GAAP effective tax rate, that is 1.6 million% negative. If that was your actual tax rate, that means for every dollar that you made, the government would give you $1.67 million. Obviously, that doesn't seem right. Come down here to this one, and it's 13,911%. That means that for every dollar that you made, you'd have to pay the government $13,911. Obviously, that's not right, because a business wouldn't stay in business if those were the actual rates. This is part of the problem with the temporal tax rate and where things are hitting. We get weird tax rates. And so it's kind of disingenuous to come and say, hey, this company here got a huge tax rate, because this is also over COVID. There was a lot of refunds given out and a lot of weird loans and things. So the tax rates are all kind of messed up. And so that's why we use the capped effective tax rate. So it gives us something a little bit more realistic. We'll talk about this again in just a second, but I'm going to finish up this video and then we'll pull up the next one to talk about a little bit what's going on here.